Hey everyone! Good to see you! Who's in the chat right now? All of you are early today, so don't worry about that. I have a question though before we start. Is my voice in sync with the video? I just need to know this first before we can start. But it's okay, we have some time so I can fix it if it's not. There's a reason I'm asking this, but I'll tell you after. Welcome, welcome. Hey, Lexica. Let's see who else I recognize. Lady Napbug, Cosma, Kai, Emilio's VFX. Let's see who else do I recognize. Just kind of read the names that I know first. Keith. Hey, Keith. Flo Purdy. Checking the chat. Yes, it is. I am plagued by typos today. Okay, we're good. Phew. All right. Well, I've got some news. Actually got a lot of news. First of all, if you're wondering about the podcast, check my Patreon page in a couple days, and I'm going to be posting an update there, probably on Tuesday or Wednesday, Tuesday night or Wednesday, depending on how fast I can get it edited. But I'm going to be making an update post about how the podcast is going, all the stuff I've got already, what I still need to get. But if you guys are curious, I do have a big update. One is, maybe you can't really notice it, but I got a new streaming capture device for my camera. So you probably don't notice it, but you are seeing 75.87% less grain on the screen than you normally would with my $5 AliExpress video capture card, because now I'm using an actual video capture card. So that's one thing, but I got that for partly for the podcast, which will be useful for when I do video calls. But other updates. First time joining live, welcome. If you're here first time live, Chinari, as well as see a couple other people also I think said it's their first time here. The whiteboard does look a bit clear. I'd hope so. Yeah, I was using a $5 video capture card, which surprisingly works well. But it did have a bit of a delay, so to compensate for that, I had to delay my audio. But I turned that off now because I'm using the new one. So I wanted to check that we're all good. There shouldn't be delay, but if there is, I can fix it. Anyway, other news is I can't really show you right now, but I'll show you later. If you check my Patreon page, like I said, Tuesday night or Wednesday, you'll see a big update video about the podcast. But I got rid of my desk. My beautiful IKEA desk. It cost over $300. I got it in 2020, right before COVID and all that started. And then it sold out. It was so popular. It's a beautiful desk. It's giant, very sturdy. I got rid of it. Although there's some good news. I gave it to my son, Jeremy, so he has it in his room now. So it's not going to go to waste. I couldn't bear to throw it away or just donate to get rid of it, because I was like, it's such a good desk. Maybe I'll want it again. I don't know. I replaced it. I have a newer desk, which is, again, I can't really show you here, but you'll see it in the podcast update. It's like literally the exact same dimensions, but 7 inches shorter, which is kind of a big deal. But I managed to get everything I was using to fit. I still have my all my monitors and all my equipment on it, so it still works. But the benefit of that is this space over here that used to be occupied completely by my computer stuff, this entire wall. Again, I can't show you. Just imagine there's a big wall over here that would have my desk there. It's now completely open. I have 8 feet by 4 feet. No specific reason for mentioning those dimensions, but I do now have an 8 foot by 4 foot space that I can use for maybe something that is the same shape as a podcast set. We'll see, but it's open now. So I've got this extra space to work with, which is good. That's the reason I've basically remodeled my entire room over the past 2 weeks since you saw me during the last live stream. There's so much stuff has changed in this room that if I were to show you, you'd be like, oh, that would probably be a reaction, because it's just a bunch of little stuff. Like I had all these sound panels over the wall. I moved them around. I moved my bookshelf. I had a big bookshelf you've probably seen in my videos a bookshelf with a bunch of books, like Korean books. That I've moved completely over as well to make room for the desk. Like everything's been moved around. And that took the full 2 weeks. In fact, just yesterday, I finally got the last piece of what I needed to rearrange the room to get ready for the new podcast set. So yeah, you're seeing this new image and everything. It's all thanks to the new podcast, and hopefully I'll make an update. I'll probably film something Monday or Tuesday. So you can watch that Tuesday or Wednesday, as I said. All right. Okay. Let's go back to the chat. I don't want to miss what you guys are saying. All of you here now are early. We're going to get started with the podcast. Not the podcast. Not yet. We're going to get started with the live class at the top of the hour. I'm so happy it's beginner level, says Becky. Well, yes and yes, but also no. The podcast, you can tell I'm really excited about this, but the class today is going to be beginner level, but there is going to be a part of the class that's for intermediate level. So if you are intermediate and you're watching this, the form puteo hada, which we're going to be doing after we do the main part of the lesson, is intermediate level. And you don't need that if you're beginner at all. So if you're an intermediate, hold on. There's something for you too. But if you're beginner, well, the first half of this lesson is going to be for you. And you might still learn something if you're an intermediate, because we're going to be reviewing 4 really common words. 1, 2, 3. Yeah. 4 really common words that I hear a lot of people misusing. And also more importantly, a lot of people are confused about them, because there are 4 words that mean first, like first, I'll do this first, or first do this, or first. There's so many words. There are more than this, but these are the 4 main ones that you need that all mean first. And they all have they actually have different meanings. So we're going to be talking about that. That's for any beginner level. It could be high beginner, low beginner, but the puteo hada form is definitely more for intermediates. You wouldn't need that form until after you've already learned other forms. Okay. Claire Willison says, how's the construction going? Well, I'm going to be making updates. So again, check Patreon, and probably Tuesday night, if I can get it out that fast, or Wednesday morning, you'll see an update video about everything. There's a lot of stuff to update, because since we did the fundraiser, since the beginning of August, when I made a poll asking you what you wanted for my next project, immediately, like, I started purchasing stuff and planning for it. Even before I did the fundraiser, I was already like making plans, like, okay, they're going to want it. Let's just do the fundraiser. Let's assume that if they don't fund the fundraiser, I'll just pay out of my own pocket and suffer. But I really want to do it. Fortunately, we ended up hitting the goal, which was great. So that means I don't have to dip into my my rent money to pay for a podcast set. But although it is going to be kind of tight when it's over, because of some stuff I have to order from Korea is very expensive with all taxes and everything. So we'll see. Nice. I love using things wrong. Steve Roberts says, I still have my desk from being a student in 1988. That must be a good desk. And Kai said, thank goodness. Congrats, internet nephew. Yeah, Jeremy was really happy to get it. I made it a challenge for him, though. So I didn't just give him my old desk, because it's a really big, expensive desk. And he has a desk, actually. He has a small desk that he uses for his computer, his little laptop he has, which he actually needs a laptop because his laptop's doesn't even work. But and that's a different story. But he has a small desk. But I made a challenge where he does reading every day at school, and I think he's reading Old Man and the Sea right now. Yeah. Anyway, he has like a reading challenge. So he earned the desk by reading during class, like a different book than he normally would. So he's earned that desk now. It wasn't just, here's an old desk, you can have it, but like, here, if you want this desk, you got to work for it. Although I was hoping he'd do it anyway. I wanted to give it to him. I didn't want to throw it away. Billy, if you're thinking of dipping into the rent money, do I need to go to a Podcastolics Anonymous meeting? Yes. My name is Billy, and I have a problem. That's the PA meeting. Yes. No. That's the thing, is I knew that before I started making any sort of podcast, like the way I want to do a podcast is not cheap. I know I could sit down and plop a microphone on my desk, that one of the ones I already have, and use my camera and just click record, and there's a podcast. But that's not how I wanted to make a podcast. I wanted, you'll see in the update, but I wanted to do something a little bit like my style. And immediately when I started making plans, my style, I realized it has lots of dollar figures next to it. Fortunately, though, we're making it work. We're making it really cheap, I think, for a few $1,000s to put everything together. I think it's going to be great. But yeah, it's not ready yet. Hemingway for 8-year-olds. It's not for 8-year-olds, but he just wants to challenge himself and read it because his reading is actually pretty good for his age. So he's challenging himself, I guess. It's 3:44 a.m. in my location. Wow, get some sleep. You don't have to stay up till like 6 in the morning to study Korean. This will be on my channel afterward. Although you will miss this live banter we've got going here. And yes, for anyone else coming in right now, you are early. We'll get started right at the top of the hour, which is 14 minutes from now. If you want something to do while you're waiting, though, I would check out the prerequisite for this lesson, which is you want to already know how to use the particle puteo before you start this lesson, because we're not using the particle puteo in this lesson. I mean, we are, but we're not learning it again. If you're wondering, puteo means from. It can be used to mean from a time. Most often it'll be from a time, but it can also be used from a location. So like to and from. And I have other lessons about that. I think I even did a live stream about it. I have a cheat sheet that has information about it. Like, it's everywhere on the internet. You can learn this in like 5 minutes, but you want to know how to use puteo already for saying from before you learn how to use it to say first, because although it's the same particle, its usage is different in this intermediate level form we're going to be doing later in the lesson today. Jeremy is happier now that he has a desk. Shelf? He does have a shelf too. He has 2 gigantic bookshelves in his room. We bought the largest bookshelf they had at IKEA, which, like $100 or something. It's not too bad, but we got 2 of them. So his whole wall, one of his walls in his room is just bookshelves. And you might think, oh, that's a lot of bookshelves, but he has a lot of books. We don't buy Jeremy very many like expensive gifts, I'll say, but he's got a lot of books. He likes books, and we're happy to get him books. So it's like already halfway full, pretty much, with just Korean books and English books. And he gets books as gifts as well. So yeah, he has shelves. He also has now a desk. Butohada is included in my Sejong Institute Beginning 2 course. That's really good. Do you like karabas? What's that? I don't know what that is. Did Jeremy have a desk before? He did. He does. He has another desk, which is where his laptop sits. It's a kid's desk, but it can grow up. It can get taller. So he'll keep that one as well. That one's in a different room though anyway, so it's not really gonna matter if he has 2 desks. My niece found out she's in honors English class, just like her auntie was. Yes. Child me would think that it was a perfectly normal number of bookshelves. Yes. Did you go to the Scholastic book fairs as a kid? Those were like the best. I mean, I loved getting books when I was a kid. For some reason, I guess I just kind of lost it as an adult. Like, I really liked books as a kid, and when I became an adult, I'm like, it's just a book. I don't care too much anymore. But I loved books when I was a kid. So like fiction books, I'd buy Goosebumps books, all that stuff. Now, the reading I do is going to be like blogs, articles, the dictionary, like grammar books. That's the kind of stuff that I read nowadays. But yeah, Jeremy really likes books, and I want to encourage that. I don't want what happened to me to happen to you, son. So hopefully Jeremy will have a lifelong love of reading is what we want. That was one of the best days of the school year. Oh yeah. Like, I think my parents would give me, because, there were 4 kids in my family, so we were not wealthy at all. We wouldn't get a lot of money. But I think I remember my mom sending me to school with like $20 when there was a Scholastic book fair, which is nowadays it's not enough to buy more than like 1 book. But at the time it was like 3, maybe 4 books, but you could get at least like 2 really cool books if you wanted. So yeah, I would buy like a couple Goosebumps books. I would buy like some random like dictionary of like the wild animal encyclopedia and have like a monkey with like fangs on the cover, or whatever book looked cool when I was a kid. I take my grandson to the book fair every year and he cleans me out. Oh yeah. If you were to take Jeremy to the bookstore and be like, buy whatever you want, you'd have to sell your house. And actually, we did that in Korea this year. We filmed a sequel to the bookstore video that I did last year, where I gave Jeremy $50, 5만 원. So not really 50, but yeah, close enough. $50 at the bookstore. And I said, you buy whatever you want. And he got like 4 or 5 books at that time. Well, we did a sequel to it, which you won't get to watch it though until like December because of how many other videos I have to post first. But we filmed it back in July and we gave Jeremy this time $100. So I think he picked like 8 books or something like that. But while filming it, even though he knew he could only spend 10만 원, so like, I think it's about like $85. I'd have to check, but about something like that. Even though we gave him that, if he had picked every book that he wanted to while we were there, easily, I think it would have gone up to $500. And that's like, if I told him, here, Jeremy, you can get whatever you want for 100, but then secretly buy every book that he picks up, then yeah, I think it would have been over $500. If I were to tell him, though, you can get as many books as you want, yeah, I can't imagine that. Never enough money for as many books as I wanted. Yeah. As an adult, I'm constantly running out of space for all my books. I thought Scholastic was something only in Canada. If my ebook to be read queue was a stack of physical books, I'd be in danger of being crushed in the next earthquake. Yes. My parents didn't give me any. Yeah, I understand. Some days I would get like $5 for lunch money, or like, my mom would be like, here's like, $10 for this, whatever. But other days it's like, you just can't buy anything. You're just not the cool kid that day. You have friends that are buying all these cool books and you're like, fine. Not like I wanted any of those books anyway. I have 6 bookshelves of Korean language, philosophy, and history books, most of which I've already read. Wow. Truly a kid after my own heart. Yeah, well, in Canada, $50 might only get you 1 or 5. Unfortunately, I'm a physical book girly, so I'm currently buried beneath. Oh, okay. Yeah, I prefer physical books whenever possible. I feel like ebooks are fine if I don't intend to read the whole book. Like if I just want it for like reference for one day, then I don't mind if it's an ebook. But if there's any book that I like any book I actually want to read, I always get the physical version. And I don't buy books that much, but if there's like a Korean learning book, I buy Korean books. So I have some books, actually several books on my bookshelf, which is now located over here instead of over there, what it used to be, that I had, one of the books I have, a dictionary, was like $50, but it's worth it. Don't tell me it's not worth it. But yeah, I like getting physical books, especially if it's for anything related to Korean teaching. Then I need it. I mean, you never know when you want to pull it out, and I don't want to have to like turn on my computer just to reference something really quick, or like use up one of my monitors. It's not like I'm made of monitors or anything. All right, we'll get started in 7 minutes, but any questions before we start the class? I love physical books. Kai says, I might leave because I'm taking my brother to see the new Demon Slayer movie. Oh, that's cool. My goal is to have my own library in my own house, so I constantly buy books, knowing I won't read them for a while. Well, when you someday get cursed to turn into a beast who makes you stuck in that form until you find true love and someone kisses you, which breaks the curse, having a giant library is only going to help you. I can't think of any downsides. Let's see. Yeah, I'll take any questions before we get started. Mela says ebooks are easier. I agree with you, but books are cooler. So nothing could have kept me going in the beginning if I didn't have the physical Talk to Me in Korean workbooks and the structure they give. Yeah, it's for some people, it's just, and for me included, physical books are just, they're just easier to use. If it's not a study or interest book I'm interested, okay. Casual reading with audiobooks. Audiobooks are good too. I haven't tried that many audiobooks, but if you are learning Korean, I think those would be useful. you get the book and you buy the audiobook and you listen while you're reading along, then you master sound change rules and pronunciation and all that stuff. I think that'd be useful. In fact, I also filmed a video that I'll be uploading. Again, this will be after the current course is finished uploading. You'll start to see the videos I filmed in Korea this summer. And one of the videos we filmed is about how to improve your Korean by reading, as well as things like, tips for reading, where to buy books, as well as some specific books for Korean learners. And that'll be kind of a cool video. So look forward to that as well. Any other Korean questions? Korea questions? Just questions? Before we get started with the lesson in a few minutes. Flo says, for studying, I need physical books, and for reading is just ebooks. Yeah. If I'm studying, you gotta have the book open on your desk at all times. In fact, I even have one of those little devices that'll hold your book open. Like, it has like the little metal arms, and it can grab the pages so you can hold it open on your book, your desk. I sometimes use it. I don't actually use it though for reading. I use it if I'm like filming a video and I need the book to be held open. I recently started playing Genshin Impact and switched the audio to Korean. Nice. Wonshin in Korean. That's called wonshin. It's pretty popular in Korea, but I happen to know that was more popular, I think, a couple years ago, and nowadays is much less popular. Nowadays, I think Nikkei might be more popular than that. Like, it always changes, like the mobile game trend, whatever is the popular one. Harry Potter on audio is amazing. The speaker has the Guinness World Record for voices. Really? Who is that? Can we ask non-lesson related questions? Sure. Or when the lesson ends. What are we going to learn about? Check the title. My goal is to be able to learn and speak Korean fluently. Nice. The best of both worlds is to have a book in both formats, physical for reading and ebook for searchability. Ogurada. Yeah. Ogurada is, for the really quick explanation, since I'm going to get started with the lesson, unfair. Asha 너무 억울해. That's so unfair. Like, you feel it's making you feel like that's unfair. So you're not commenting that something is 불공평하다. Like, you're not saying it actually is unfair. You're saying I feel like that's unfair. So that's what you would use if you wanted to express, oh man, that's not fair. That's my 1 second lesson. Do you advise knowing some Hanja to recognize language root structure? The characters, not so much, although they are fun to learn and you will see them. The characters, not so much, but the sounds and the meaning, yeah. So if you learn Hanja, I would just say, don't worry about writing practice or reading practice with Hanja. Just learn you can read it, see it in the book, but just read the regular Hangul for that is going to be more useful to you. And then in that case, yes. Don't do it as a beginner though. It's not useless as a beginner, but you need to get the basics first. And the more things that you spend instead of learning the basics is just using your time up. You could spend your time getting the basics down and then do it. But in the early stages, I don't recommend stuff like that, which is more for the advanced level or at least intermediate level. Any tips where in Suwon I should stay for the trip? Oh, Suwon. Okay. Anywhere close to the station. The Suwon station is that's the hub of all Suwon stuff is there. Or if you're going to Suwon specifically for like the Suwon Fortress, then you don't need to stay at the station. I think it would be Suwon. Is that Maetangwonsan or Suwon Sicheong? I can't think of it off the top of my head, but the Suwon Fortress isn't right next to any of the stations, so you have to take a bus to get there anyway. But I would say somewhere around-ish Suwon Station is where you would want to stay. Now, that's not my favorite place in Suwon, but if you're a tourist, I would say you probably should go there. Jim Dale, over 140 voices. Wow. Is this class going to be live abridged? Every class will become a live abridged when it's over. Okay. But Keith, if you want to send me the actual location on Discord, I can tell you if that location's decent or not. If you're not sure, like if it's not exactly like somewhere within walking distance of Suwon Station and you're not sure if it's okay, because there are some areas in Suwon that are not good to stay in only because they're far from the subway. And I will say that if the listing says it's close to a bus stop, but it's not close to a subway, I would say don't do it unless it's a major bus stop that services routes 5100 or 5107, which go to Seoul. Those ones are okay if you live next to that bus route, but you don't live next to the subway station. Otherwise, live next to the subway station because the buses in Suwon are not as fast and reliable as they are in Seoul. You might have to wait like 20 minutes for the next bus. It might be really slow because it winds through the city. But the ones that are the ones that are direct, like the red colored kind of buses, a lot of those ones are okay because they're fast. So I would just say stay close to a subway station within 5-minute walk would be best. Okay. It's now 2:00 and we're going to get started with our lesson. We're going to be learning about how to say first in Korean, and there are several ways to say it. So first, we're going to talk about how you can say it using words. I know you guys can't tell, but I am in a completely different spot in my room doing this live stream, so everything feels off for me. I would normally be standing like over here when I'm doing my live streams, but since the room got moved around, so it'll take a little time for me to get used to this. Okay. So we're going to be learning about the word bonjo first. So first, we're going to learn about bonjo, which means first. Now, bonjo means first, specifically before something or before someone else. And that's important because all 4 ways we're going to be learning to say first have a different definition, a different nuance. And this one is before something or someone else. For example, this one would mean like saying, before I do anything else. So first, before I do that, first, before this person, I'm going to do this. Or first, before I go there, I need to. That's sort of meaning of first. Again, the other words we're going to be learning are a little bit different. You can use this as a regular adverb in a sentence, which means you can use it at the beginning of a sentence, like, first, I'm going to do this. Or you can also use it as an adverb before a verb. So you could say something like, I will leave first. So you have options. It can be used as a regular adverb. That's important because not all of these can. So it can be used as an adverb, and this can be used in any speech level. So you can use this adverb when you're speaking casually, or you can use this when you're speaking formally. So it's not restricted to how it can be used. Adverb with any verb, beginning of the sentence if you want, any speech level, it's all good. So I'm going to stop you though, because I hear your thoughts. You're thinking, well, Billy, this one sounds great. I'm just going to learn this one and then plug my ears for the rest of the lesson. And you would be so wrong because there are other verbs, other nouns and other cool words that it would be really sad if you did that. So this is the first one. So write this down and then I'm going to give you an example sentence. So here's an example sentence. 먼저 가세요. So, 먼저, first, before someone else or before something else. In this case, it's before someone else. 가세요. Go. Go first. You first. As in, first before someone else. Me. Before me. So first go. 먼저 가세요. You could also interpret this like, before you do anything else, go. Like, go first before you do that. Either one's fine, but this is the way that you can tell someone, after you. 먼저 가세요. 네, 먼저 가세요. After you, sir. Like that. You'd use this one. I'll leave this up for just a second, and then I have another sentence for you. Oh, and if you are one of my wonderful Patreon supporters, there is also a worksheet version of this live stream, as well as there will be an outline posted on Patreon as soon as this is done. And you can do an extra like 8 sentences. So I think there's an extra one with each of the words we're doing today on there. Okay, 1 second, and then I'll give you the next example sentence. How come we can't see her live in the Reels formats? Because I don't really care about Reels. That's why. That's the short version why. Because I don't think you can learn much Korean in less than like 30 seconds, unless it's like literally one word. And who's taking notes when they're watching Reels? I don't know. I just don't think it's the best format for my lessons. 3 world records. Top was 146 voices for Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. Wow. That's a lot of voices. There are a few voice actors today I know that can do a lot of voices like that, but 140 is pretty ridiculous. That's a lot. How many can Billy West do? That guy does like so many voices. I'm sure he's over 100 also. But 146, that makes me think like Mel Blanc's territory there. Lexica, happy minute 7. Thank you, Lexica. Lexica. I don't even know what it means. It just sounds kind of cool. Lexica. Okay. Oh yeah, Frank Welker. Yeah, he's the Scooby-Doo guy. He also does. Oh yeah, he does tons of voices. That's true. I know he's the voice of Fred from Scooby-Doo, and he's been doing it since the early 70s or late 60s when that show first started. He's still doing the same voice. Let's go, gang. Come on. Yeah, he does a lot. That's true. Tara Strong, I know, is another one that does a ton of voices. Gosh, yeah, there are a few of them that are like a million voices. Okay, one more example, because I think you understand how to use this one already. 제가, I, 먼저, first, before anything else or before anyone else. 갈게요. So I'm going to go first. All right, I'm taking off. That's how you say that in Korean, is you say, I'm going to leave first. Like just letting you guys know, you're staying here. I'm going to take off first, okay? Don't mind me. I'm leaving first. I know that I'm doing it before all you, so I'm saying it. But 먼저 가다 is used for both. 먼저 가다 is used for both telling someone, oh, you first, after you, or saying, hey, I'm going to take off. Like, well, 그럼 제가 먼저 갈게요. All right, I'm off. All right. I'll leave this up for just a second. 1. Okay. So that's pretty simple. If you want more examples of that one, you can check out the worksheet. I think there are 2 more. There's at least one or 2 more examples with bonjo, but it's straightforward. That's all it is. First, before someone or something else. There's one more bonjo. 제일 먼저. 제일 means the most. So 제일 먼저 is just the most first. And you might see 제일 먼저 used instead of 먼저. It's not that common, but it just means before I do anything else. It's just a little more emphatic, but it has the same meaning. So instead of just the first, it's the firstest. So first, I'm going to do this. Like, you're not going to see it that much, but I just wanted to mention it in case someone noticed it. Okay, that's all you need to know about bonjo. So let's go on, because I don't want to waste too much time on bonjo. We've already spent too much time on bonjo, I think. So let's go on to the next one. The next one is 일단. You're probably familiar with this one. Notice the pronunciation. It's not 일단, it's 일단. Because of sound change rules, because of this letter. Often we'll make the consonant after it, if it's a basic consonant, into a double consonant. In which case, in this case, it does. So, 일단. This one means first, but it doesn't mean first before anyone or anyone else. This one means first for now. Like now, first. But what does that mean, really? Let me write it a different way. First of all. Does first of all mean the same thing as bonjo? No. It means first, but bonjo means, remember, first before something else or someone else. This one means first of all. So, what does that mean? Are you going to use 일단 with other verbs? Is it going to be used with other adjectives? I'm sorry. Is it going to be used as an adverb before other verbs? No. You might see it used with other verbs in some cases. Most of the time, 일단 is going to be used at the beginning of a sentence because when do you say first of all? You're going to say it at the beginning of a sentence in English too. So, first of all, what I want you to learn about this is that it means first of all. Or there are some other ways we can translate it. Tentatively is a pretty literal way you can translate it too. Or for the time being. Okay, so for the time being, we're going to do this. Now, there are other ways to say for the time being. 당분간 is another common way that you can say that. But this just kind of shows you the nuance that this word has. So it's for now. First of all. For the time being. So it has that meaning of like first of all and not first before me or before something else. Okay. And just like bonjo. Well, what did I write? I was trying to write any. This one can also be used in any speech level. So casual speech, okay. Formal speech, okay. Let me give you an example. After I write the example, I'm going to check the chat because I missed the chat for a couple minutes. Okay, let me check the chat. Yeah, growls and stuff. That's true. 나 먼저 간다. Billy West can do about 120. Okay, that's not surprising. I knew he could do a lot. I did get to meet him once. He was really goofy. Let's start here and see. Yeah, but first, yes, like that. But first. I've heard 가장 먼저, same as 제일 먼저. 우산 we're doing next. Don't worry. Okay. So, 일단 기다리고 있어요. 기다리다 is to wait. So, 기다리고 있어요. I'm waiting. So, 일단, again, is like saying, for the time being, I'm waiting. Or, first of all, I'm waiting. So, tentatively, I'm waiting. You can think of it like that. But really naturally, you can just say something like, well, I'm waiting for the time being. 일단 기다리고 있어요. For the time being, right now, I'm waiting. So, 일단 kind of has that meaning of like now. So it's like first now, but you can kind of think of it as like, well, for now. So yeah, for now, I'm waiting. 일단 기다리고 있어요. For the time being, I'm waiting. Let's do one more with 일단. 일딱. What's 일딱? Okay. 같이. Together. 가다. To go. So 같이 가요. In this case, it's being used as a suggestion. 같이 with the 요 form is a common way of saying in a regular casual conversation or informal conversation. Let me say that again. 같이 with any 요 form is a common way to say in speech, let's do something. 같이 가요. So let's go. 일단. First of all, let's go. Okay. For the time being, let's just go together. You can just think of this as like, all right, let's just go together for now. For the time being, 같이 가요. Let's just go together then. Yeah, I'll leave this up for just 10 seconds because we still have one more word we have to cover in our beginner section of this lesson before we can go on to the more fun intermediate section that I have prepared. Oh, and then there's one more beginner section at the end as well with another word we're going to be doing, which is tome as well, which will come up later in the lesson. Okay, let's see. See if I missed any chat. Someone asking, will there be notes after? All of these live streams have outlines. You have to join my Patreon page to get them, but I swear I priced them very affordably. These are $1 for all of them. Ever since I started all the live streams, you can still get them all for $1. Yeah, if you join my Patreon page, you can get the links. All of these plus the worksheets. They're all contained in the $1 Patreon tier. It's not even the price of a cup of coffee. It's the price of like letting you have a sip of their coffee. Like, give me $1, bro. Okay. Like, it's that. But if that's still a lot, I understand. I don't. But you can also get the lessons for free. So these lessons will be available on my YouTube channel forever, as well as the abridged versions, which are also free. If you're a member, though, you get to watch the abridged versions a few days early, but they do all become free. Okay. Next, we're going to be learning about the word usan. I bet you could never guess this, but usan also means first. Yeah. Well, this has a different nuance, though. This one means first, as in the first priority, like the first most important thing, like saying that. So you can kind of translate this as saying, first of all. So you're not saying like, first for now. You're saying like, first of all, meaning what's important first is. Again, this is not about something being tentatively right now. This is about something being high in priority. So first. So you can also think of this as meaning like first, what's important is. You can just kind of learn it like this. 우선. So in this way, its usage is kind of similar to bonjo. And it's also kind of similar to 일단. because bonjo was first before anything else, right? So that's kind of like priority. And 일단 is first, like for the time being. So it's kind of like that. They're all kind of similar, but 우선 is kind of like a fusion of 먼저 and 일단. But if you have to compare it to any of them, it's similar to 먼저. Because that also shows kind of like priority almost. But this one's more emphasis on the fact that it's priority, like what's important. So you're not going to tell someone, 우선 가세요. Please go first. Because that would be like saying, first, what's important is you go. I mean, it makes sense in English. It sounds kind of awkward in Korean. First of all, go is what it would kind of sound like. It wouldn't sound like you go first before us. Because it doesn't have that before us feeling in it. So, there's one more thing. There's one reason why you might not use 우선 though that much, and why you won't hear it used that much. Because 먼저 and 일단, I said, can be used in any speech level. 우선 can be used in any speech level. It's not going to be wrong. But it most often is just used in more polite speech. 우선 has a bit of a fancy feeling to it. So if you say 우선 in your sentences, it sounds like you're trying to speak a little fancy. Look at you, so fancy with your Korean and proper speech levels. So I don't personally use this word that much. If I was going to give say I have to give an announcement to a group of people. 우선 우리가 I'm going to say 우선 because it sounds official, sounds nice. First of all, then, what's important is, we need to do this, and then we have to do this. It kind of sounds a little bit like that. So it's the least commonly used of these three, but you definitely should know it because someone else talking to you in a group of people is probably going to use this one instead of saying 먼저 or 일단. Although those are okay too. If you want to say first priority, then this one tends to get used more in polite speech. Otherwise, you can use the other ones. The other ones are also fine for formal speech. This one just by default has a bit of a formal feeling. Okay. So, let me give you an example sentence. 우선. So, first of all, 창문 is window, 닫다 is to close. 우선 창문을 닫으세요. First of all, close the window. So this sounds polite. It sounds a little bit like you're maybe addressing a group of people or you're trying to sound very professional. 우선 창문을 닫으세요. 우선 창문을 닫으세요. So first of all, please close the window. You could say 먼저 창문을 닫으세요. First, close the window. And you're okay because 먼저 is before doing anything else. But 우선 has the meaning of, again, it's the most important thing. Not just that you're doing it before something or someone else, but you're doing that because it's the most important thing to do. 우선 창문을 닫으세요. So first of all, what's important is that you close the window. Okay, I'll leave this up for just a minute, check the chat, and then we have another sentence for this. Where in the sentence does 우선 go? Well, it's an adverb, so you can use it anywhere, but most often, it'll just get used at the beginning of a sentence, just like 일단. 일단 연습 좀 하세요. Practicing reading along while someone speaks is good for that. Choi Susu's podcast would be one place to try. Yeah. Podcasts I think are a really good way to get listening practice, because you can listen to podcasts while you're doing other things throughout your day. Usan sounds like how a fixer would talk. First, we got to do this. All right, boss. Okay, boss. First, we're going to do this. And then we're going to do that. I don't know. Is that how they talk? Probably not. Okay, one more sentence, and then we're going to go to the fun part of this lesson where we learn about the form puteo, hada, or with other verbs too. Bet you didn't think it could be used with other verbs. Or I don't know, maybe you knew that. Hey, 우선. First of all, what's important is 차, a car. 차를 사다, to buy. 차를 사고 싶어요. I want to buy a car. So first, I want to buy a car. That's what's most important. That's what you're saying. Because first priority is 차를 사고 싶어요. So the first priority is I want to buy a car. So I want to buy a car first. Not just that you're saying before I do anything else, because maybe you're going to actually you're going to sleep, you're going to eat, you're going to think about which car to buy. It doesn't really mean before anything else. It just means that's the most important thing. So you can still say 우선 차를 사고 싶어요, and then you can 먼저 do something else before that, but you're still saying this is the most important thing right now. 우선 차를 사고 싶어요. First of all, what's most important is I want to buy a car. I want to buy a car. I want to buy a car. Actually, I have a car. It's okay. It's not bad. It works. Gets me to where I need to go. Hey, Zandria. I'm sleepy. This is usually what happens when I wake up early in the morning. 우산을 챙겨. Yes, very good sentence. 우산. 우산 is a rain umbrella, and 우선 is first. So first of all, get your umbrella is what the sentence means. 우산을 챙겨. Okay. There's one more word we're also going to learn a little bit later that means first. But in the meantime, let's talk about the form 부터 and 하다. So, 부터 is a particle that you should already know, which means from. And it's used typically after a time or sometimes a location to mean from a time or from a location until or up to somewhere else, like from school to home or from 2 o'clock until 5 o'clock, that sort of meaning. So it means from, and specifically, wow, I wrote that really weird. You try to write sideways and see how well you do. So 부터 means from. Specifically, 부터, the particle, marks the starting point of something. Where does something start from? So, like when you say 1시부터 3시까지, from 1 o'clock until 3, that 1시, 1 o'clock, 1시부터 part means the starting point of whatever you're talking about is 1 o'clock. So 1 o'clock is where something begins. That's what 부터 implies. Something begins, something starts at the point that it's being used after. I'm giving you this explanation because I want to give you the literal meaning of this form and how it's used for what it is. So Another thing I should say is that it doesn't mean someone gave you something, like I got a gift from my friend. That sort of from is not indicating the starting point of something. It's more of just indicating someone doing something to and from someone else. This is from a time and location. So not from a person, just in case you hadn't learned that yet. Oh, I got a donation. Flo, thank you. Thank you for the $20 donation, Flo. And you say bottom of the hour. Is it the bottom of the hour? Wow. I'm actually doing really good on my time. I scheduled that it might take an extra 10 minutes to get to where I am, but that's great. Thanks for the reminder also that it's 2:30. So, we're not going to be doing an example sentence with puteo normally, because I assume you already have seen this before. But if you haven't, I do have other live streams that teach how to use puteo on my channel, as well as lessons, so you can check it out there. Puteo can also be used, though, not just with a time and a location to say from, but with a noun. So, of course, time and location are nouns also, but any noun. Because what you're saying in this case is something starts at this noun. So beginning with this noun is kind of what you're saying when you say a noun with puteo. And then hada, in this case, is just an action verb. It just means to do. So this form literally means to do something, whatever it is. Maybe 공부하다, to study. 청소하다, to clean. You get the idea. Whatever it is you're doing, starting with this noun. Again, this is the literal meaning of it. So it's not really that important that you learn the literal meaning of it, as long as you understand how it's used. But I wanted it to make sense, at least to you, how this works. And this form used in this way is another way that you can say first, to do something first. So you're not just saying like, oh, go first. But in this case, you would be saying, start with this. I'll give you an example. When you're learning Korean, learn the alphabet Hangul first. You could make this sentence normally. You could say like 한국어는, for Korean, 한글을 먼저 배우세요. So learn Hangul first. Or if we say it with this, 한글부터, and whatever it is the verb. In this case, we could do with 배우다, to learn. So learn starting with Hangul is what you would be saying. So this does not literally mean first you're doing anything. It means whatever it is you're doing, do it starting with the noun. There is another way that we can translate this that'll be a little bit easier to understand. I prepared a lot of stuff for today. Okay. Actually, let's change my marker color. It could also translate to do, if you use hada, to do noun first, whatever the sentence is you're saying, or to start by doing noun. So I think you should start by doing this. That is this form, because you're not just saying do this first, but you're saying start by doing it first. The nuance is different, right? Even though the literal meaning is still do it first, but now you're saying you're starting something. And this is how you begin it, is by doing this noun first. So it's a different nuance to your sentence, which is really common and useful. Or you can also think of it just like this, to focus on noun first. Like if you are going to take a long hike, well, you should focus on eating first. Like that. Start by getting a good meal. Start by getting a good rest before you study. Like any sort of usage like that, this is the form you want to convey that nuance. This is the form you want to convey that nuance. I'm glad I edit these advanced these lessons into the bridged versions. That way I can cut out all of the weird things that I sometimes say that make no sense. Like it's a recommendation. If you use this in a command or like a suggestion, then yes. You could also say in a regular statement though too. It doesn't have to be you start by doing this. First, you do this. You can also say, I am going to first do something. I'm going to start by doing this. It doesn't have to be a command or a recommendation to someone else. It can also be your own sentence, like your own actions. Yeah. Okay. So let's do a few example sentences. And don't worry, we'll explain the example sentences too. Hopefully this kind of makes sense. Hopefully you're following along okay. Actually, okay, we're going to do this sentence first, and then we're going to add the puteo into it, just to show you how it works. 숙제하다 is to do your homework. 숙제를 하고, so you do your homework, and then 하고, and then 오세요, come here. So this form, while not related to our lesson today, 고 오다, with an action verb. So like to do something and then to come here, this is how you say in Korean, go and do something. In English, we say go and do it. In Korean, they say do it and come back. So 하고 오세요 is like literally do your homework and then come back here, but that's equivalent to saying go do your homework. Okay, so 숙제를 하고 오세요. Go do your homework. Easy sentence. But now we're going to transform it a little bit. 숙제부터, from your homework. Again, starting with your homework, literally, is what we get. Do it, and then come here. So, go do, starting with your homework, is what you literally get. Or, do your homework first. Go do your homework first. Like that. You can also think of this as like, first go take care of your homework is the nuance you get. So whatever you're going to go do, first go do your homework is what it means. So focus on your homework first and then come here. So go focus on your homework first is what it means. I'll leave this up for a minute and then I have 5 more sentences. 4 more sentences after this. Okay. Does this make sense? Give me a yay or a nay. Suzanne Lopes, yes. 지훈 Lee, yeah. 나가기 전에 우산부터 챙기세요. Sure. We're going to talk about that too, using other words together with it. Yay. This makes more sense than my math lessons. I'm glad to hear that. Lady Natbug just gave a dab emoji. Okay, If this doesn't make sense yet, don't worry. I want you to see a few more sentences before you write it off. Again, first, 식사하세요. 식사하다 is to eat a meal. 식사하세요. Eat your meal. Go eat something, right? Ow! That sharp point, like it fell like that right onto my foot, on the soft part of my foot. Ow. I really should wear shoes when I do this. What does this sentence now mean? 식사부터 하세요. So now you're saying start from eating a meal. Literally. So eat first. 식사부터 하세요. So if you're gonna do a 10-mile hike, you should start by eating. Again, you didn't need to use this form to tell someone to eat. But the nuance you now get is, whatever you're doing, you're starting it. Something begins from 식사. 식사부터 하세요. So, start by eating, or first focus on eating. 식사부터 하세요. Eat first. You could also say, like, 일단 식사하세요. Like, you know, for the time being, or first of all, eat. Or you can say, 먼저 식사하세요. Like, eat first, before all of us. Or you could say, 우선 식사하세요. You know, first of all, the most important thing is you eat. Like, you could say it in a bunch of different ways, but the nuance this form gives is start by doing something. So, like, I know you have other things you're doing, but start. The beginning is do that. Eat. This sentence, I want you to finish. I kind of already said it to you. For Korean, 한국어는 start by learning 한글. I want you to write the sentence, but I've given you the first word. 한국어는. So, 한국어는 means like when it comes to Korean, or just for Korean, the Korean language, start by learning 한글. And if you don't know how to say learn, I'm going to give you the verb. It's 배우다. 배우다. That's all I'm going to tell you. Or if you didn't know that, you could have said study. You could have changed it however you want. 식사 always makes me laugh too. Yeah, especially because I know that Yiddish. Technically, I married a 식사, so I know what you're talking about. Okay, so when it comes to Korean, learn Hangul first, or start by learning Hangul. Is there an idiom about eating first? Yeah, 금강산도 식후경이다, but that doesn't use this form. I'll write it up here, since you asked. I'm going to erase it though when I write the sentence, but 금강산 is the name of a mountain. It's like gold something mountain. So even this mountain is, 식 is eating, 후 is after, 경 is a site. So a site for after a meal is what it means. 이다. So even this beautiful mountain is something that should be seen after eating. So yeah, it means eat first. Like you're gonna have a more enjoyable time if you eat first before you do it. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to enjoy it, is what it means. I would learn this expression if you're for anyone above the beginner level, because I've heard it multiple times. I've used it also. Like you can change the hanja if you know the hanja, you know what it means. You could change this part to another thing if you're making a joke. Like maybe you're going to like a theme park, then you can say the theme park's name and say 도시구경이라던데. Like, you know, they always say that Disneyland is also for 식후경. Whatever you want to say, you can change it up. Or if you know different hanja, like instead of 식, you could change it to some other thing you want to talk about, like maybe they say, let me see what we could change that to. I can't think of one right now, but you could switch it up if you want. And everyone knows this idiom, so they'll get it even if you change like this word to something else, and you change this word to something else, or this word to something, like they know this expression so well that you can do whatever you want with it. Okay, let's see what people have for their sentences. 한글부터 시작하세요. Start from 한글. 한국어는 한글부터 배우면 돼요. Nice. 한국어는 한글부터 배워라. 배워라. You better learn Korean. You better learn the alphabet. 배워라 is very strong, but it's playful if you're talking with your friends. Yeah, Polygon, you're fine. 한글부터 배우면 돼요. You should learn Hangul first. Perfect. I mean, perfect. 우선 한글부터 시작하세요. 한국어는 한글부터 배우세요. Perfect. Perfect. 한글부터 배우세요. Perfect. 한국어 공부는, I think that's what you meant to say. 한국어는 한글부터 배워요. Becky, typos there, but you have the right sentence. Okay. Yeah. Let me see if there's another one. George as well. 한글부터 한국어를 배우세요. You swapped them. So remember, what we're talking about is Korean, so that's why we put 한국어 first. So for Korean, start by learning Hangul is what we want, which is said like this. 한국어는, so as for the Korean language, when it comes to the Korean language, Hangul, the alphabet, 한글부터 배우세요. 배우다 is to learn. So learn from starting with the alphabet is what it means. So start by learning the alphabet. Notice that it's 부터 배우다 and not like 부터 하다. It doesn't have to be 부터 하다. 하다 just represents whatever verb that you're doing. If you're talking about doing homework or studying or anything that uses 하다, then yeah, it's 하다, 식사하다. But if you're talking about some other verb, in this case to learn, any verb can go here. 하다 tends to be the most common one that you'll see, just because most verbs that this gets used with are going to have 하다 at the end, but you can also use it with any other verb you want. In this case, learn, starting with 한글. 한국어는 한글부터 배우세요. So, for Korean, start by learning Hangul. Okay. Ignore the 부터 right now. 물 마시고. So 물 마시다 is to drink water. So 물 마시고, I'm going to drink water, and then 마시고. 말하다 is to say, to speak, to tell. 말할게요. So I'm going to tell you. 물 마시고 말할게요. So I'm going to drink water and then I'll tell you, literally, or I'll tell you after I drink water. 물 좀 마시고 말할게요. I'm going to tell you after I drink some water. Perfectly normal, natural sentence. But now we can add in the meaning of everything is starting with drinking water. 물부터 마시고. So I'm going to start by drinking some water, and then I'll tell you. So first I'm going to have some water. That's going to be the start of all this, and then I'm going to tell you. So I'm going to start by before I tell you, I'm going to start by having some water. Is what you get. Before I tell you, I'm going to start by drinking some water. 물부터 마시고 말할게요. So I'm going to drink some water first, and then I'm going to tell you. I hope it's clear that you don't need to use 부터 to make a sentence. That's why this is not a beginner form. You can say the same sentence, I'm going to drink water and then tell you, without this form. But adding this form gives your sentence that nuance where you're saying something starts from something. So it adds the emphasis that something begins with this. Okay, so just in case if you're worried like, oh, I need this form to make my sentences. No, you don't. You can make your sentences fine without it. But it gives it an extra nuance that you wouldn't have otherwise. I'll start by drinking some water and then I'm going to tell you. Let me first just have some water and then I'll tell you. That's the nuance you get. You cannot get this nuance with any other form in Korean. Okay, one more sentence for this form. Do you notice something? Is that our friend 일단? Yes. 일단 is really commonly used together with puteo in this sort of form. Why? Because it adds emphasis. So 일단, again, like first of all, for the time being, 일단, first of all, 밥 먹자, let's eat. 밥 literally means cooked rice, but it's used to just mean any sort of meal. 밥 먹자 is let's have a meal. So let's eat. So first of all, let's eat. If you don't have the puteo here. 일단 밥 먹자. First of all, let's eat. But now you have 일단 밥부터 먹자. 밥부터. So starting with a meal. So let's eat starting with a meal is what you literally get. So let's start by eating first of all. First of all, let's start by eating something. First of all, let's eat something first is what you get. Notice, first of all, let's eat first. You have first twice in the English sentence. That's the emphasis that you can get by adding 일단 or maybe bonjo or usan or whatever you want to add to the sentence. These just are used in their own world. Like you can use them or you don't have to. A lot of the sentences that use puteo will also naturally have this in there too, just because they kind of serve the same purpose. 일단 is like, hey, okay, first of all, and then puteo is like, we're starting with this. So in English, it sounds a bit repetitive. In Korean, it doesn't. It just is more emphatic. 일단 밥부터 먹자. So for now, let's just eat first, is what you get. So let's focus on eating something first. Okay, I'll leave this up for just a minute, and then we're going to move on to our last word in this lesson. Why is it not letting me approve it? I see Keith wrote a comment. It got stuck in the filter, but I can't show it. Oh well. 우선 물을 마시고 말을 할게요. 우선 물부터 마시고 말할게요. I've heard 너부터 하자. Let's start with you. Like that. jinx부터 쳐. Yeah. So start by hitting jinx. It's that sort of start by, start with, begin with, that sort of start nuance is what you get with this form. You don't have to use it. You could just say, do that. 밥 먹자. You're good. Let's eat. That's your sentence. It's not unnatural or less natural. This just adds the meaning of something starting with something. So is it used to end a discussion about lots of ideas or opinions? It can be, right? Oh, we should do this. We should do this. Oh, I don't know. Maybe we should do this. 일단 밥부터 먹자. Like, I didn't even listen to what you said. Like, you're talking about what things we're going to do later in the afternoon. I don't care, but let's just eat first. Let's start by eating, okay? That's what it means. So yes, it could be used to end a discussion about lots of ideas. You're like, that doesn't really matter. Let's start with this. Or it doesn't have to be let's or do something. It can also be I am going to do something or they are doing something. It's any sort of usage. Okay. So hopefully that makes sense. But we're not done. There's one more word we should learn. I was surprised no one mentioned this when I was talking about ways to say first. This is another way that some people have asked me before. Another way to say, this is another way to say first, but it has a very different meaning. Now, it can translate as first, but what it is a different type of word entirely. First of all, tome is a noun, not an adverb, not a grammar form. It's a noun, and it doesn't mean first. It means beginning. And not beginner or begin or anything like that. It means beginning, like the beginning, that sort of meaning. So it's used in a few specific places, and we're going to talk about the most common ways that you'll see it. First of all, you're going to see it in this expression, tome or tome는, in which case, 에는, like in, right? tome는, in the beginning. So tome는 means in the beginning or at first. Like, well, at first, when I was learning Korean, I couldn't make sentences, but later I learned how to do that. Or in the beginning, the movie's a bit boring, but then it gets better. So literally, in the beginning, tome는. So that's one way you'll see it. I want to erase this, but I'm going to leave it up for like 20 seconds before I go on. Any questions before? I mean, I'm still doing the lesson, but if you have any questions, you can feel free to ask. I might add them. That's a good point. You could use usan with as a noun as well. But in that case, you're not saying this is first. You'd be saying this is the highest priority. But that's not going to be something beginners are going to want to use. That would be like advanced, well, not advanced, but a more fancy way of saying this is high priority, kind of like that. More commonly, a way to say that would just be saying 이건 가장 중요한 거예요. Like 가장 중요하다, just to be the most important. You might want to say that. Does this relate to 첫? Actually, I have I was going to mention that at the end, but this is not 첫, although it's related to it. If you're wondering about, let me erase this first and then I'll write that. Now, this word tome is not the same as 첫 or 첫째 or 첫 번째. To learn about these words, it's actually a separate lesson I've done, a separate live stream. April 16th, 2023. You can find it on my channel. I did a live stream all about how to use these words. So watch that for it. But those are not how to say first. Those are different words, which have different uses. Though, and this is used as, pretty much these would be used as an adjective. This one's used as a noun or as an adjective, as well as this one also. So watch this for a more detailed explanation of that. I kind of wanted to include these as well in today's lesson, but it would make the lesson an extra 30 minutes. So I decided not to for today. But I've already taught them, so you can learn them there. Okay, so for tome, Tome는 means in the beginning or at first. You can also use tome as a noun. Again, it means the beginning. You can use it with the verb ida, to be. So to be, the beginning, right? Yes. If you say 처음이다, something is your 처음이다, it literally means it was my beginning, or that is my beginning. But that's how you say it's your first time doing something or experiencing something. So, like when you go to Korea, 혹시 처음이에요? Is it your first time? Is it your beginning? Is what they're asking. 네, 처음이에요. 사실 한국은 처음이에요. Actually, it's my first time in Korea. After anything you want to say, you can use 처음이다 to be the first time you've ever done something or visited somewhere or experienced something like that. I'm going to give you an example sentence. Here's an example. Oops. Question. Okay. 여기, here. 여기가 처음이에요? So literally, is here the beginning is what you're asking? But yeah, it's saying, hey, is here a beginning for you? Literally. Is this your first time here? So you can replace 여기 with wherever, and you can replace this with a statement or keep it a question to say or ask if it's someone's first time visiting somewhere. Like when you're in Korea, you can say 한국 or whatever. 여기가 처음이에요? Is it your first time here? Okay, I'll leave this up for a minute. 처음에는 한국어를 공부하는 것이 어려워요. Okay? I learned this one from BTS. 방탄은 처음이지. Yeah. And I'm actually going to talk about that. Not that, but where they got it from. They actually copied it from another thing, which I'll mention that. Yeah, 처음 뵙겠습니다 was a very formal way to say nice to meet you. Nowadays, you won't hear it. It's still good to learn it because you might hear it used in like some much older people might say the word, like people who are maybe people that are over in their 70s or more. You might hear it used occasionally, and it's still a well-known expression, but it's not used nowadays to say nice to meet you. The only case I think you might still say 처음 뵙겠습니다 is if you're trying to be like super, super crazy polite and you met like a really important government official or something like that. It just sounds a little bit overly formal for most situations. Okay. But yeah, 처음 뵙겠습니다 means I must be seeing you for my first time. So, 처음 means the beginning, or as we learned, the first time. There is, or I should say there was, a popular Korean program called which was kind of like tourists getting or foreigners getting introduced to Korean things for their first time, and it was called 어서와. So like, come on, welcome. Hey, welcome. 한국은 처음이지? It's your first time in Korea, right? So I think BTS might have been playing on this as well. BTS something something in Chomiji is from that program's title. I think they actually might call it also BTS in Chomiji, but I haven't checked because I'm not well versed in BTS programs anymore. But yeah, unless if it's from a song lyric, I don't know if they sing this before it. But anyway, so yeah, it's used to say first time. Also, tome, I said it's a noun. It is a noun, but it can also be used as an adverb. And it can either be left as tome, or you'll also see it as tom으로, for the first time. But it's the same meaning if you just say tome. So if you did something for the first time, you could say 처음으로 or just tome and then 해봤어요. I tried it. 처음 해봤어요. I tried it for my first time. So you can also use it like that. But again, it doesn't necessarily mean like first. It just means the beginning. But it can be used to translate as first when it's used as a noun or an adverb. Okay. So, and that is our lesson. Let me take a quick thumbnail photo. I always need a good thumbnail photo. Okay, that'll be my thumbnail photo. There is another class this next Sunday. And I think, well, actually, there are still two options. You have to make sure you vote for the option that you want. There's another beginner option. I think there's another advanced option intermediate level option on there. So you'll vote for whichever one you want. And now I'm going to be taking questions. So that's the end of this lesson about first. So you can ask a question about the lesson. You can ask a question about any other topic, Korean or whatever. And I'm going to hang out for maybe like 20 minutes or it always ends up being like an hour. I'm going to hang out for like 20 minutes and we can talk about whatever you want. RM does say also while before there as. Okay, yeah, he's quoting, well, he's playing on the show title. And since everyone knows that show, you'll hear people commonly swap 한국은 처음이지 into something else. So like if you're joking with your friend, like, hey, is it your first time doing something? Like maybe you visit, okay, I'll give you an example of something you can do. Say you visit McDonald's, right? And your friend orders something at McDonald's and they love it. I'm not a big fan of McDonald's, but let's just say they order and they really like the menu item. You could tease your friend by saying, oh, also McDonald's 처음이지? Like, haha, welcome. It's your first time at McDonald's, eh? Like kind of like teasing them for being such a noob. You could change it up however you want, but just to say that it's such a well-known expression that even if you swap it, it still works. And they'll know what you're referencing right away. Yeah, Sejong Institute. Sejong has some beginner courses as well. Like they have some beginner textbooks, I know, which is pretty cool. Headed to Korea. Oh, hey, Mikey. Headed to Korea in a little over a week for the first time. Gonna try Milkis and Blue Lemonade. Remember the ratio. The ratio is important. Not too much Milkis, or else it just ends up tasting like an overly sweet Milkis. Because Milkis is very sweet. Blue Lemonade is sweet too, but you want the ratio to be like, it's like 80% Blue Lemonade and 20% Milkis. I wouldn't go much higher than that though on the Milkis, even if you're a big fan of Milkis. Keep it low. You're mainly just drinking Blue Lemonade that's flavored with Milkis, not the other way around. I've done both. I've done like half and half. I've done the other way just to try it, and it's always better the way that I normally do it, which is mostly the Blue Lemonade. And then, yeah, find yourself a nice park bench, get a big ice cup, get the big autumn cup, and enjoy. Post a photo in my Discord so I can see how you made it. Or if you want to be creative, you can try the other fruits the other fruit juices that they have too. I've already tried most of them though, and I can tell you that the Blue Lemonade is the best. But I did also enjoy the watermelon. I thought the watermelon, though, was a close second. And then I've tried all the other ones, and they're okay. But the Blue Lemonade was the supreme leader. 방탄은 처음이지. You seem like first experience about 방탄, but I thought. So like adding cream to your coffee. Yeah, but oh, well, I guess if you like a lot of cream in it, sure. You're supposed to see like in the large cup of ice, which is about like this tall, you're supposed to see like maybe 1.5 inches of milkus, not like 3 inches of it. You don't want half and half, just because, like I said, it's too sweet. And if it's too sweet, you just can't enjoy it that much. I feel like I'm someone who I like sweet things, but not like overly sweet things, like a large amount. I want a little bit. If it's really sweet, I want a little bit. If it's like semi-sweet, I can have more of it. So you kind of want to find the right ratio so it's not too bad. Polygon says 3년 전에 한국어를 처음으로 시작했어요. Nice. 그런데 공부해올수록 어려워져서 포기하게 됐어요. I understand what you're saying. I will have to watch this video again when it's posted to take my notes. Yeah, I'll also be posting an abridged version of this later tonight. If you're one of my channel members, so if your name is in green, like Keith, then you can watch these abridged videos tonight. And if you're not, you can watch it usually Wednesday morning is when I put up the abridged version. 걸으면서 껌을 씹는 건 처음이죠? It's your first time chewing gum walking? What's the form 대두? Okay, so that is actually just the form. It's the spelling is this. So the form is just the actually the full form isn't this. The full form is this. But there are actually two forms that look like this. There's one that has a space and there's one that doesn't have a space. The one that has a space is 대 with 도. And the one that doesn't have a space is just 대. Wait, did I say that right? Yeah. The one with a space is this. The one without a space doesn't have the a. So those are different forms. Sorry to confuse you, but the reason is I'm not sure if you're asking about that form in that sentence only, or if you saw that form many times and you're asking what it is in different uses. If there's no space, it's just te, which is the te form, which is for connecting sentences together and has the meaning of and but, with to, meaning even. So like, even though it is like that, but this form is different with the space, like you gave in your example. This form is even if you're doing, even in the situation of, even in the case of, you can think of this te in this case as like meaning 경우, like 상황, like a situation, like a case. So even if you are doing something, even in case you're doing something, like that sort of meaning. I have other lessons about it though. I think it's also, well, it is. It's in my newest course, which goes over like 270 sentence connector forms. So if you search the lesson for even if, you should see that form. I think it's in the even if lesson. It might be in a different lesson, but 100% it's in there. Both of those. Ji-Yoon Lee, they're not talking about te. They're not. That's not the form. It's a different one. Okay. Yeah. In that case, 사라진데도 is the 에도, the one that I wrote up. But again, the spelling would be with the O-E letter, not the A-E for te. Cosma, nice. 먼저 갈게요. Perfect. But Cosma, there actually is a different way that they say this. They use the adverb 이만, which is kind of literally like saying 이만큼, like this much. And then they use it with 가다. Typically something like 가보겠습니다, or like something like that. 가볼게요. 가볼게요, or 가보겠습니다 if you're being extra polite. 자, 그러면 이만 가볼게요. Like 이만 is like, this is as far as I'm going. Like, all right, well, it's not saying I'm going to take off now. You're saying, if you use this, then you're saying, I've gotten this far and now I'm going to leave from here. It's just a polite way of saying, not just saying, hey, I'm leaving later, but you're saying, all right, well, I've come this far. I've come quite a long ways, haven't I? Now I'm leaving. It just adds that kind of respect that you are showing to the listener that you've stuck around this long. And hey, all right, well, I got to take off now. It has that take off now kind of feeling, as in relation to previously when I could have gone, but I'm going to take off now. So it's common to use 이만 with like 가다 in that sort of case. You could say 먼저 가볼게요, 먼저 갈게요. Also, 먼저 갈게요 I feel is also more common in like real, like in face-to-face conversations, because you're saying like, hey, I know you're staying here, I'm going to leave. Whereas 이만 has the emphasis of like, I'm going to take off now. Like, I can't see you. I don't know where you guys are, but I'm leaving up to this point. So it's just one more thing you can use. Anyway, have a nice time, Cosma. Hopefully you stuck around for that. Airport worker strike starts later this week. Maybe there won't be a jet bridge operator. I can imagine trying blue lemonade milk kiss. How is it different from the other even if that uses 그래도? You definitely want to check out my sentence connectors course that will answer all of those questions for you. 그래도 simply means nevertheless, as in still, even still, nevertheless. And 그래도 is used at the start of a sentence. It's basically used like a phrase, like we would say nevertheless or even still in English. Still, yet, nevertheless, like that. I know you're mentioning Jihoon wrote so and but. It doesn't mean those. I think you might have confused it with another form. Mela asked, Billy, do you have Instagram? I do. I don't use it very much though, but I do have one. I'll sometimes retweet stuff that people send me, like their study notes. Noted. Okay, good. Just wanted to make sure you got that, Cosmo. But yeah, take care. I definitely recommend though using 이만 for like online situations and 먼저 in person. Just because it matches the feeling, especially if you're like in a group setting, then the 먼저 has like the feeling of, all right, you guys stay there, I'm taking off, like that sort of meaning. And 이만 is like, all right, I'm good now. Like kind of like the SpongeBob meme of like SpongeBob sitting up to leave. Kind of has that feeling to it with the 이만, I guess. Sunny Southpaw, welcome. 안녕하세요. Again, in case you missed the announcements at the beginning of this, before we started the lesson, this week, probably Tuesday night, I'm going to try for Tuesday night, but maybe Wednesday if I can. There's going to be an update video about the podcast with everything I can update you with so far. There's been a lot of progress made on it. I don't have the set to show you yet, but I have like everything else. So that's good. And yeah, we raised just over $4,000 for the podcast, which is great. So we hit the stretch goals and everything like that. So far of that, I've already spent close to $3,000, and I don't yet have a set, but it's going to be okay. We're going to make it work. Fortunately, the set I think is going to be less than $500 for the materials since I've got everything else. Just the materials should be under 500. That's what I'm hoping anyway. But yeah, so I'll do an update. So if you check my Patreon page this week, you'll see it'll be a video you get to watch, and I'll tell you everything that's going on and everything that's going to be coming next. And I'll show you some of the stuff we've got. Looks really cool. I'm excited to share it with you. And hopefully, the end of this month, before the end of this month, I'm hoping to have everything that I need for it. So all of the materials. And my goal is, we'll see if this works. I'm going to manifest it into the universe and let's see if we can get it. My goal is to be filming the first episode sometime around or before Thanksgiving, which means you would actually get the episode around Thanksgiving, because the whole point of the podcast is it's going to be topical. So you won't have a podcast episode that I filmed like 4 months in advance that I'm uploading. It'll have been filmed within the past 2 weeks. So since the last episode, it'll have been filmed. So it'll be something recent with whatever currently is going on. It will give some news as well for what's going on in Korea. So that's the goal. So hopefully these will have to be something I can film and edit and everything within just a few days, which will be nice. Hopefully then. Hopefully sooner than later, but I don't want to say too soon because there's still a ton of stuff I have to do. Every day I'm spending about 3 to 4 hours minimum every single day since the beginning of August. I've been spending working on the podcast in some way or another, whether by going down to the store and buying stuff physically or ordering stuff or doing other stuff that I'll show you in the podcast update. Translated English and Korean. Yeah, Xandria, there will be. Check my Patreon page for information about that. Jessica asked a question. Would that be formal or informal? Are you talking about, which word are you talking about, Jessica B? Are you talking about the iman thing or kuredo? Kuredo would be well, the word, actually, I'll let you answer the question first before I give you the explanation. Okay, any other questions? I'll stick around for like 10 more minutes and then we'll go for today. Both? The iman would be for either. Now you're asking formal or informal. That's, I don't like being overly technical when I don't have to be, but informal and formal are not the best words to use for comparing Korean. Because Korean has informal has more than one form. It's just anything that's not formal. Formal is typically like hamnida, like that sort of form. 있습니다, the umnida, all that nida form. That's the part of the formal. Informal is just anything that's not formal, and that can include the yo form. It can also include casual speech. But if your question is 그래도 formal or informal, it would be either, but it has more of a regular informal feeling. There are other forms you can use that have a formal feeling, which mean nevertheless, like 그럼에도 불구하고, despite that, you know, like there are other forms you could use for that would have more of a formal feeling, but by itself, it's just a regular informal. Informal, though, encompasses like the majority of stuff in Korean. And I usually don't like to go into this territory just because it's very technical. Like, technically, informal includes honorifics also, or honorifics could be part of formal. It's unrelated. Humble speech also can be either. Informal is more just to do with the verb ending, whether it's nida or whether it's yo. It doesn't have to do with being necessarily polite or not, because informal can be polite, but it could also be rude. And formal could be very polite, but it could also be awkward. Depends on how it's being used. So hopefully, though, this kind of made sense. But anyway, just hopefully to answer your question at least. Yeah, it's not specifically like it's not specifically like an extra polite or an extra casual form. It's just a normal form that doesn't have a fancy feel. Bev says, I have an idea for an upload. What is your idea? Steve Roberts says, what word would I use to describe a past action? So saying I first opened the case. 먼저. Since you're saying you did something before something else, right? It's like the first thing I did was this. You can say 먼저. But as we also learned, it depends on what nuance you're going for. So is your nuance just saying the first thing I did was, in that case, as in like the first thing, like before I did anything else, the first thing I did was, in which case just use 먼저. But do you need to say that? Like, are you saying first, let me tell you about this. First of all, I opened this. Then you can use 일단, since that's first of all. But if you mean before anything else, the first thing that I did was open the case, then 먼저 would be what you'd use. Did you live in Korea for a long time? Not a very long time, but if you stick all of the time I've spent in Korea together, and because I've been back and forth to Korea, I go there every year, at least once, but often twice a year. Though lately I'm just doing once during the summer. But if you put it all together, it's going to be somewhere around 4 or 5 years, I guess. So not that long. And when I started this channel, I think I'd only had a total of like 3 years in Korea for all the time I spent. So you don't really need a lot of time in Korea to learn Korean. But the important thing is like, how are you using your time when you have an immersion environment? Are you using your time to hang out with other people from your home country and speak in your own language, in English? Are you using it to just hang out at restaurants in Seoul where they all speak English to you, you know, ordering stuff from a kiosk? Or are you using it to meet your Korean friends who don't want to use English to you? Are you going and traveling to places where they don't speak much English? Trying to use Korean as much as you can on your own first before the other person uses English to you? Letting yourself kind of get lost sometimes and explore, and you have to ask for directions. You have to figure out stuff on your own. That's going to get you to where you want to be way faster than the first way, which, I mean, the first way won't ever get you to speaking Korean, but it's more about how you're using your time than necessarily just how long. Case, you could do that. Keith, I get what you're saying. So like, 박스부터 열었어요. Like that, I started by opening up the box. If you want to say like that, you can do that. You don't have to use 부터 though to convey that you did something first, as I explained. It simply adds that nuance of something was happening and the beginning of it was the box, is what the nuance is. So I started by opening the box. If you want that, you can use it. Otherwise, you can just say 먼저 박스를 열었어요. And you're perfectly natural and correct. So yeah, either one. 일단, you're a jerk. First of all, okay, that was kind of a mean thing to say, is what you can start with. You know what? First of all, you're kind of a jerk. There's one more word I'll give you. Kind of similar to 일단, but this one is an advanced word. Maybe not advanced, but this is more intermediate. 당분간 is the word you would say that actually means for the time being. So this doesn't just mean like 일단, like for right now, for the time being, but this means something's going on for a while, time being. So it's like 일단, but it's extended in how long it lasts. So I think this works as a really good, like for the time being, it's been going on for a little bit and it's going to continue going on for a little bit. So that's the meaning of 당분간, kind of like here to here. Whereas 일단 is just kind of like, oops. Like, let's see, here's now. And here's the future. And here's the past. 당분간 kind of has that feeling of like something going on for the time being. And 일단 kind of just has the feeling of like from right now and a little bit forward. So they both mean for the time being, 일단 and 당분간. But 당분간 has like a more of a long feeling to it. So if you want to say like, you know, for the time being, I'm living at my grandparents' house, you would say 당분간. You wouldn't say 일단 unless you just are moving there right now. 일단 할머니 집에 며칠 머물 예정이에요. Like I'm planning on staying at my grandmother's house for a few days. You could use 일단 because it's starting now, from now. But if you're saying like 당분간 할머니 댁에 머물고 있어요, like that's for the time being, you know, I have been, and I will be. It just has that for the time being kind of expanded a little bit. But it's another good word to learn. Again, I didn't include in the lesson because it doesn't mean first. It really just means for the time being. 당분간. I use it a lot though. 당분간. I think it sounds cool. Makes you sound like you're a pro-Korean speaker if you start throwing out the 당분간. Just walk into a restaurant, be like, and they're like, "Oh, I'm sorry, sir, we don't speak English." You just be like, 당분간. And they're like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't know. Here, sir, everything's free. Take whatever you want." That's how it works. There's certain words in Korean where you use them and people just fall at your feet. "I'm sorry, I did not know you spoke Korean." 당분간 is one of them. For a while. Yeah, for a while works. But again, it's like, it's not that you're going to do something for a while in the future. It's like right now, for a bit, for the time being kind of meaning. So it's not the exact same as saying for a while. How do you interact with the hospital, police, etc. in a case of an emergency? Just speak English. If you can't manage the Korean in that situation, they're going to understand English. Just speak clearly. But as far as politeness levels, it's up to you. You can be, you can use formal speech with any sort of service worker. So that doesn't just have to be police or fire department or whatever. It can also just be like workers at any sort of office, like any sort of building that you're not familiar with. You can be formal with them. And it sounds actually nice. Like you're being respectful. Kind of like if you'd walk into a business and you're not like, hey, what's up, dude? I'm going to just use the bathroom, okay? Like you can do that and it's fine. It's not rude, but it also sounds nice to say, excuse me, I am looking for the bathroom. Can I go there just for a second? It just has that like extra polite feeling. So you can use formal speech in that situation, but if it's an emergency, just speak clearly. Use honorifics if you're talking about them always. That's not about formality though. That's just about politeness. But Yule form is going to be fine. Anyone that has upgraded membership on his Patreon, what are the best ones to pick as a beginner? Well, I mean, Blue Moon, if you honestly, like everything you get on my page, with exception of watching my videos in advance, is all in the $1 tier. You don't have to pay much. The $5 tier also gets you my Anki deck, but that's more of like a fun thing. It's not something you need for your Korean. It's just like, if you're really curious, what weird, obscure Korean words does Billy have in the back of his pocket? Like, that's what you get for the Anki deck. And that's from the $5 tier. The $10 tier is you also get the PDFs of my Learn Korean series in advance. It's a small benefit, but it's just like hey, I recognize you're paying more. Thank you. And every year I post maybe 4 of those videos, maybe 4 to 5. And you get those like a month in advance or sometimes 2 months. And the $25 tier is the highest one. That's for like, that's like I really, really, really want to be a supporter of Billy. I like what he does. I want to support him. And for those people, I let you watch my videos a week or sometimes a week and a half. It's about a week and a half in advance. You get to see the videos that are coming on my channel in advance. But the $1 tier has all the worksheets, all the outlines, all of the special updates I give out, HD versions of all my cheat sheets, study plans, all that stuff is mostly just under the $1 tier. Yeah, thanks, Flo. How do you stop people from speaking English to you when you're in Seoul? You do what I used to do, which is it's not the best thing to do. So when I first went to Korea, I had just come off of studying French at my high school for 4 years. So did I speak French? You bet I did not. I can't say I did not in French right now because I can't remember. My French was bad, but I still studied it for 4 years. So 저 프랑스 사람인데요. 죄송해요. 저 영어 잘 못해요. 죄송해요. 저 프랑스 사람인데요. And if they would say, oh, vous êtes français? I'd be, oui, mais je voudrais 한국어를 연습하고 싶어요. Like that. I would just do that if I didn't like the person. Like if I was just if it wasn't a situation where I wanted to talk with someone, but they're like forcing their English on me, like someone who just wants to practice their English. Most people are not like that, but some people I met, I could tell the only reason they're talking with me was to practice their English. In that case, I think it's okay. You like fight fire with fire, right? I would just pretend I didn't speak much English. And then they would speak Korean a little bit. And then but it's not really a great advice because it doesn't get you a free Korean conversation. It just means they realize they can't use you to practice their English and they'll go away. So, I mean, you might get an extra 1 or 2 sentences out of them, but then at the end of the day, you've just lied about who you are. You're not going to make a friend from that, right? So that's one method though. If you don't want to talk with them and you're not going to be their friend, is you can just tell them, oh, I actually don't speak English very well. But the better way to do it is just to keep speaking Korean and ignore what they said in English. So don't reply to their English, because if you reply to this is if in the situation where you just want to practice your Korean. Again, this is not for making friends. This is not good advice for making friends. This is just, I'm in a public place. I just want to practice my Korean. I do not want to speak English at all. I'm not looking to make friends. You ignore what they say to you in English. You pretend you couldn't understand, or actually, you don't have to pretend you didn't understand it. You ignore it. You don't take it into account of the conversation. So for example, I'm going to pretend I don't know very much Korean, but I want to practice it, and I'm going to a cafe. So I go to the cafe. Cafe worker just so happens to have spent a semester in Ohio. They speak English kind of okay, and they want to practice it. So I say, 네, blueberry smoothie 주세요. It's my best impression of how I used to speak Korean when I was a beginner. Blueberry smoothie 주세요. They would say, would you like a large or a small in English? Now, normally you'd say, oh, wow, you speak English. And then your conversation Korean's over and you're done. You didn't get that conversation. Or you can do, 네? Excuse me? 네 is just yes, but that's a polite way to say, what did you say? Oh, 네? Oh, I'm sorry. They would maybe repeat a small or large, and you can say, 그리고, like ignore what they said, but you can still repeat it. You could say, 저는 라지로 주세요. Just completely ignore what they said and kind of act like you didn't really want to hear English in the first place. Now, again, this will not make you a friend because it's not very polite. They might or might not have bad intentions with that. They might really just want to practice their English. But you can keep having the conversation that way. You pretty much just act like what they said wasn't a part of the conversation and you continue the conversation as usual. It's just the thing is, at the end of the day, these types of interactions are the smallest part of your Korean practice. Like if the bulk of your Korean practice is ordering things or asking for directions, you're not getting enough practice because these are such short conversations that they're not really helping your Korean very much at all. What actually will help your Korean is long conversations with a friend. And that can be a close friend and you're speaking casually, or it can be a friend you met online and they're older than you and you're speaking politely with them. It's not these like 30-second conversations you have where you say something 주세요, 네, 감사합니다, like 얼마예요. Like that's not the conversation. Those are the conversations that you get as a tourist. Those are not the kind of conversations that will help your Korean very much beyond just those phrases. Like you're going to become a master at saying 주세요, 감사합니다, something 어디 있어요, 얼마예요. You're going to be a master at like these 4 expressions, but you're not going to get any better at speaking Korean because the conversations that you would have in those situations they're not worth it, really. A better conversation would be at the cafe when you're ordering with your friend who speaks to you in Korean, and then you order blueberry smoothie 주세요, and the cashier says, would you like a large or a small? And you say, oh, let me just get a small. And you don't care because you have a friend right here you're buying a smoothie for, and they're hanging out with you and they're speaking Korean with you. So I guess my point of all this is just to say, choose your battles. Like the small conversations where they keep speaking to you in English, there are ways to get around it. I've given you a few, but that's not really the most important thing. It's finding the people to have longer conversations with. So you're gonna, like I said, you're gonna master all the basic phrases really quickly, but actual conversation will come through much more practice. And eventually, by doing regular practice, when these conversations happen and they don't want to speak to you in Korean, it's not really going to matter very much because, like, I don't personally care that much if someone speaks English to me. I'll just be like, okay, cool, they speak English, whatever. Because I don't care. I'm talking with my friend on Kakao Messenger in all Korean, or I'm having lunch with them, or anything like that. Do you recommend using Anki for simple things like vocab? Anki is great for organizing your vocab. Like, you should have Anki as a quick way to check your database for all the words you've learned. But I don't recommend relying on it because at the end of the day, it's just a vocabulary. It's just for memorizing vocabulary. It doesn't actually help you use the vocabulary words when you need it. It's just to kind of help you to remember them. Hopefully, then you could pull it out when you have a conversation and you're not too slow. But the real practice doesn't come from getting good at like the SRS. I think it's called spaced repetition study. Anyway, whatever that is. Like vocab, basically flashcards. That's the point of that. But flashcards aren't going to get you better at speaking Korean very much. So I would say don't rely too much on it. Keep the amount of time you spend doing vocab study each day to a minimum. Something like 5 minutes or 10 minutes is plenty. 15 if you're doing like 50 words or something. and instead spend your time making practice sentences, listening to Korean, all these other things which will help you more than just trying to increase your vocabulary, which, as I said, it's not really going to increase your vocabulary in real usage that much. Easy C24 says, yes, Billy is our friend, but he's not a hot Korean girl. I do think about this sometimes. Yeah, it's unfortunate, but you know, I gotta live with the cards I've been drawn. I'm still a beginner, and I thought I would challenge myself by calling a couple of local Korean shops to ask if they had Korean birthday cards. Hold on, let me just Korean birthday cards. I haven't really seen those. 한국 생일 카드 있나요? So if you're trying to say Korean birthday cards and you don't mean the Korea country, like you don't mean Korean country birthday cards, which you said correctly, 한국 생일 카드 means Korean, as in the country of Korea, birthday cards, but what you meant was Korean language birthday cards, right? I'm going to teach you a grammar form that you should probably write down. 으로 되다. Let me just write down the finished form for you so you can see it. So, 으로 되다 is to become, to be. You can think of it as like to be. And then 으로 is like of, made of, sort of meaning. So like to be of. Like if you say a desk is of wood, right? If you kind of understand the nuance I'm talking, it means like made of wood or like formed out of, created from. So 으로 되다 means to be made of something. So you can say like 나무로 된 책상, like a desk made of wood, a wood desk, you can say. So 으로 된 is the adjective form. Literally, it's the past tense of 되다 in adjective form. It means was made of or created using or of Korean language. So 한국어로 된 생일 카드 would be a more accurate description. So you're not just asking for like a Korea, like a birthday card from Korea. You're not just asking for that, in which case they'd probably be like, why do you want birthday cards from Korea? Even if they understood you, they might be like, what does that mean? Is there different cards in Korea? But if you say 한국어로 된 생일 카드, then they're going to know, oh, they mean the Korean birthday cards. And you can use 으로 되다 for other things too. Like I gave the example. It just means to be made of, to be made out of. Kitty Mommy says, very disheartening. I know. But what are you going to do? I could wear cat ears. Would that help? If I wear cat ears? I have a wig. I could do both. I can get close, is what I'm saying. How long on average does it take to learn Korean? You know, Blue Moon, I actually filmed another video in Korea, exactly how long it takes to learn Korean to each level. Kind of. I mean, obviously there is no one answer, but we talk about like averages and minimums in the video. And the really short answer to your question is there is no actual answer of how long it takes. I can tell you how long it doesn't take. It certainly doesn't take a couple months. That's impossible. But average, how long on average does it take to learn Korean to, you say, to the point where you can understand enough to have a conversation? So this would be what I would just consider conversational level. I'd say a year is going to be really fast. If you can meet someone, if I can see someone who got to a conversational level in less than a year, that person is like, they're doing something right. That's really incredible. Most of the time, in average time I see for people to actually get conversational in Korean is closer to a year and a half to 2 years. And that's like actually 2 years of like either living in Korea or having lots of Korean friends, or like every day they're watching Korean shows and they're studying Korean, but most importantly, they're actually practicing using it. A year and a half, I'd say, to 2 years would be average for that. I don't see anyone in like 6 months speaking Korean and having actual conversations. I do very rarely find people who study for like 8, 9 months and can have conversations, but they're not like fluent conversations. They would just be like basics. The people that you'll see most often who speak Korean and can have actual conversations have been learning, I would say, for a minimum of 3 years, 2, 3 years. Yeah. So don't feel stressed if it's been like a few months and you can't speak well. Like literally, if you could, you'd be some sort of genius. In fact, I don't even want to use the term genius. I've never met anyone who could speak Korean at that short of time. Like, it's not about being a genius or not. It's just your brain does not work that way. So yeah, again, the most important thing is going to be, are you actually using the language? So lots and lots of listening practice. I love recommending podcasts these days because there are so many good ones for learning Korean. Tons of listening practice and also tons of practical usage. So chatting online with a friend counts. The point is that you are making your own sentences. You can do voice chat. You can send messages with like a walkie-talkie feature or whatever. You can call a friend. You can hire a tutor, a cheap Korean language tutor, just for practicing speaking. If you're at a level where you can kind of speak, anything like that. You just want to get as much usage as possible. And then if you're trying to do that, like, say you listen to podcast an hour, 2 hours every single day, and you practice with a tutor, like an hour, a couple times a week, then yeah, sure. Maybe a year and a half, 2 years would probably probably apply to you as well. You don't need to do it like 8 hours a day, every single day or anything like that. I mean, if you do, it's better, but you don't have to learn Korean. It's not that hard of a language to learn. It just does take a ton of exposure. Xandria says, learning with Korean speakers is like using a Pokédex. I got this phrase ready. What you got now? Yes. Pikachu. Electric Pokemon. I tell people not to think about the time to learn the language. Yeah, it's not so much about the time. And if anything, don't worry about the first like 5, 6 months. It's not possible to get to a conversational level in that short amount of time. And the very, very few people I've seen who have done it have all had extraordinary environments for doing so. It's not like you're not going to pick up a book and study 8 hours a day and get fluent in 5 months. It's not possible. There's a certain amount of time your brain is going to take before it'll internalize stuff beyond just learning some phrases, like memorizing a couple phrases you could do in like a day. Just memorize, hello, I like Korea. My favorite Korean food is this. What do you like? You can memorize these phrases in one day and trick your friends into thinking you speak Korean. But actually speaking is going to take a long time. 5 years, says Ayakata. 5 years, it's not bad at all. Not bad at all. If you're not living in Korea for those 5 years, not bad. 2 months for the alphabet. Becky, that's not bad. If you're talking about just learning the letters, you could learn the letters, just the letters, right? In, a few hours, right? But if you actually want to learn how to read a lot of the syllables and get comfortable with sound change rules, that takes months. I know people who speak Korean, like completely conversationally, like they've been studying for a few years and they don't know how to do all the sound change rules. Like they'll pronounce things a little bit wrong sometimes. It's a big task. It just takes a lot of time, a lot of getting used to hearing it. Keith says, I'm almost at 3 years and conversational still feels far away. Please, Keith, get yourself a conversation partner. I feel like every time I read your sentence, I feel like you are already at the level that you can make sentences and have basic conversations. I think you might be a good candidate for someone who could do like the kind of immersion approach to Korean at your level. Since you've already gotten past a lot of the basic foundation stuff, then you're kind of at the stage where you're able to improve without doing too much of the textbook study stuff. Like a tutor, if you want to meet with someone like twice a week for like 30 minutes to start off and just have them speak to you in Korean and you try to, and have them ask you questions and, they speak, you speak, you're having a conversation. Try doing something like that. try listening to a few more Korean podcasts as well. But I think for you, it might be speaking practice, just by like my feeling from reading your sentences. Sometimes that's what I'd probably recommend right now is get yourself some sort of either a Korean friend on like HelloTalk or Tandem or one of those language apps if you want to do it for free, or just hire a tutor. Get a regular tutor with minimal experience who can just speak with you for like 30 minutes or so, and do that like a couple times a week and see how that goes. But yeah, even 3 years is, if you're not doing like intense studying for 3 years, it seems like a long time, but it can take longer than that just because Korean is so different. Everything in Korean is different than how we say it in English, and it's not related to any other language. I mean, the closest language, if anything, is Japanese, and even Japanese is not a very direct cousin of Korean. It still doesn't match up everywhere. The word order is the biggest thing with Japanese, but that's pretty much it. Your advice, Billy, to not master all the patsim rules at the beginning is the reason I didn't quit. I'm glad you didn't quit. I can't imagine trying to master those because, yeah, they're intuitive later, but they're just like so complicated in the beginning. And I mean, I teach them in the beginning because you have to learn them to pronounce words, but at the same time, like, yeah, they're not beginner friendly. So make sure though you get maybe you already have it. I have a cheat sheet for all of the sound change rules on there, and you can just kind of refer. They all fit on one page, which is kind of cool. That's what I'm trying to find now. Okay, yeah. Keith, I'd say I don't have any partnership with them, but italki or Preply, either one of those for hiring tutors. HelloTalk and Tandem for getting a free tutor, but again, it's a language exchange partner. They might not be any good for language exchange. It's just for finding a friend, so you might not have success there. Depends on a lot of factors. Also depends on how you look, to be honest. But a tutor is nice because, you don't have to find like the perfect friend who's like totally willing to help you with your Korean. You just pay, just here is money, speak Korean to me. And they say, okay, 네. And they'll talk with you in Korean. I would say something like that. But I wouldn't, 3 years though, I wouldn't stress. Like I wouldn't start to panic at that point for where you're at. I feel like if you do self-study for two years and you're not seeing any progress at all, like you can't make sentences, you can't understand much, that would be the point where I would say, okay, let's reevaluate what you're doing now at this point, and let's see how we can fine tune it. But everyone's level is different, so I wouldn't recommend that unless for Keith, for you, I think I would say something more like if you came and you're like, I've been studying this for 5 years, but I can't. Then I would say, okay, let's sit down, let's do this, let's look at all the stuff you've studied, and let's try to see where you need to fill in. But yeah, 3 years is not terrible. I mean, I know people who studied Korean longer than that and aren't still at where you're at. Code with Mahim says, I have many Korean friends. How can they help me learn Korean? So if you're a beginner, you want to start on your own with just, learn some of the basic grammar rules. You don't have to like cram grammar, but you do need the basics of the basics to learn Korean. Anyone will tell you that. You need the basics, even if you're going to go off on your own. So learn those first. And then the most useful thing a Korean friend can be for learning Korean is a conversation partner. So ask them to speak Korean to you and talk with them back in Korean. Say like, hey, I'll take you to go eat at a restaurant, or, I'll take you to a diner or whatever. Find a cheap restaurant you could take them to. Fast food, whatever. I'll buy you lunch if you just speak in Korean to me the whole time. And you hang out, you just talk in like 40 minutes, you're laughing, trying to think of the word for French fries. Anything you can get to have them speak Korean to you that's the best usage of a Korean friend as a language tool. But again, at the end of the day, remember that they are your friend, they're not your tutor. So they need to be compensated in some way for helping you. I wouldn't want to be someone's friend if they were just every day, can you answer this English question? Can you answer this English question? And I've actually cut out friends from my life before for being that to me, Korean friends. So I know what it feels like. I mean, you're friends. You want to be a friend to them first, but you can still be a friend to them while learning Korean as well. Just make sure that you're being respectful of them. And every Korean I met, pretty much every Korean I met, actually likes helping people learn Korean. You just have to make it worth their while. I feel like I'm going to sneeze. I did. Okay, I'm just going to be staying. Okay, at 4 o'clock, right at the top of the hour, I'm going to be leaving. So any other questions? Blue Moon says, personally, I am kind of stuck in non-progressive daily basis, so deciding to learn Korean kind of gives me a feeling of making my own decision. Precog. Yes. I too saw that movie multiple times. How do you respond to a sneeze in Korean? You actually don't. They don't have there's no bless you in Korean. But sometimes I will say bless you in English to a Korean person if I'm like talking with them to be funny, because they know the expression. But in Korean, no. There's nothing. It's just considered kind of like impolite. I guess kind of like, it's not quite as bad as like burping, but it's just considered to be something that's a bit impolite. So usually they always turn away. You know, you don't just sneeze like directly. You put your hand into your arm if you can. Yeah, it's not something that you're going to hear anything if you do it. It's just, it just happens. Using people mainly for practice feels dehumanized. Yeah. And now, fortunately, I'm lucky that I have several Korean friends that don't want to speak English to me at all. So I always try to make it worth their while. I'm like, I know that in this friendship, what am I to them? I am a foreigner. I give them a foreigner perspective on things. I'm a friend that they can talk with. And I'd like to buy them food, or I'll bring them gifts, right? Because friendship is like, it's like a transaction at the end of the day. It could be one person's, enjoys the company of the other person, or they get to talk with the other person. There's always something that's being exchanged in a friendship. And if you're friends with someone who's speaking to you in Korean, then what are you offering back to them? It should be a good listening partner. Like, if they're speaking to you in Korean, you better be a good listener, because like, why would you want to meet someone from Korea? Like, I guess think of it the other way. Why would you want to meet someone who speaks only English to you, who's from Korea? They only speak English to you, and you're friends, right? Why are you friends? You're friends because you genuinely like this person, right? You have something that you have in common. So there needs to be something like that as well with your Korean friends. But if there is, you can make plenty of Korean friends, and they'll speak to you in Korean, and you're practicing Korean. They're helping your Korean, but no one really ever thinks about that. Like, if I meet my friends, I don't think, yay, I'm going to practice my Korean with them. Like, you just think, oh, I'm meeting my friend. We're going to hang out. We're going to have lunch, whatever. When's the next live stream? On Sunday. I'm very lucky since I have 24/7 care, and 2 of my support workers are Korean. 7 months I asked for everything in Korean. Still find it hard to put my thoughts and words together though. So, Carmidian. And this is, I feel like I always say the same thing, and apologies if you've already thought about this, but it is really that important. Everyone here needs way, way more listening practice than you think. Like, if I ask, how much listening practice do you think you should get every day for Korean? You might think like, oh, well, I should get like at least like, 10 minutes a day, or like 30 minutes a day, or an hour a day. Like, no, you're all wrong on that. I mean, the more is better. Speaking practice, you don't necessarily need tons and tons and tons and tons of speaking practice to get good at speaking Korean, because again, your brain just takes some time before it'll process things. Before things feel natural, your brain takes a lot of time to process them. So listening practice though, you could get like 3-4 hours a day, and it's not going to make you're not going to learn like 3-4 times faster than someone else. You just need as much as possible. So if you listen to a Korean podcast, a lot of those are like 30 minutes long. That's great. Now that you finish that Korean podcast, later when you're eating lunch, listen to this other 20-minute Korean video. Great. You did that. Cool. Now tonight, before you go to bed, watch this episode of a Korean variety show, which is an hour. Good. Now you've gotten 2 hours of Korean today. Like, the more you can get, the better. As much as you can put into your day. It doesn't have to be Like, you don't have to sit down and study or anything. You don't have to pause the video. You don't have to do shadowing. Nothing, just as much listening practice as you can throughout the day. And then if you're only doing studying for like a short time, like 15 minutes, 20 minutes a day, it's still going to be helpful to you because you're having all of this listening practice. But yeah, you need way more listening practice than you think you do. I have a lot of reading material. Oh yeah, reading materials are great too. The only thing is that depending on what you're reading, it might or might not be the same type of Korean that you're going to encounter when people speak, because the way people write is pretty different than how they speak. And the words that you'll read are going to be different than the words you're going to hear. The conversation is way simpler than the Korean you're going to get in the book. Too lazy to read. I prefer watching videos. The other option is audiobooks. If you're into that, get a book and listen to the audiobook while you're doing other things. I really enjoy, lately though, I've been too busy working on the podcast. I haven't, but normally I really enjoy listening to 공포 radio, like horror stories in Korean. They're fun. They're nothing too bad. And horror stories in Korean, or like ghost stories and stuff like that, there are a ton of them, and Koreans like them too. So you can find lots of content on 공포, like horror story. Their YouTube channels, their podcasts, their animations, movies, all this stuff. And so I can be like, setting up my studio for filming, which might take like 4 hours to set up, and I can listen to 4 hours of a Korean horror podcast. It's like, it's really easy. It's a no-brainer, and it takes no extra effort to do. Okay. I think this is good for today. Let me just take one more question. Blue Moon says, I'm at episode 19. Nice. Join the reading group. Oh yeah, there's a reading group in my Discord. One of them is from Busan, and her tsiet sounds like tsiet. Yeah, Busan people they didn't get the memo that pronunciation is an important thing. So, yeah. If I'm listening to an audio in Korean, does it still count even though I zone out? So what you're talking about is passive listening, and the short answer is no, it doesn't really work. Listening to be useful to your Korean, as far as to your speaking and to your understanding, not just for recognizing the sounds, but for actually improving your Korean, it has to be active listening, which is when you're trying to understand what they're saying. Like, if someone's talking to you in person, you're going to be trying to understand them. Even if you don't, you're going to be trying, right? You're going to be like, oh, wait, they said this. Oh, I think I know the ending. Oh, what did they say? Oh, but you're trying to. That's active. Passive listening is when you have it on when you're doing something else and you're not listening to it. That doesn't really do anything for your Korean, unfortunately. I would say it's next to nothing. If anything, if it does anything at all, it's just getting your ears used to hearing some sounds in Korean, but it's pretty much the same as just listening to anything else. So yeah, whenever you do listening, try to do active listening. Even if you don't understand it, it's okay. But active listening to it is going to be helpful. Korean is a lot of pitam numur. Yeah. I watch K-dramas. It's so satisfying when you recognize when the subtitles are greatly simplified. Yeah. Usually they are, because the subtitles are based on, there are two things. Subtitles are made for people who aren't listening. So they're not going to write like the and everything. They simplify it. The other thing is the subtitles are, the team that gets the subtitles is going to get, usually they're going to get the script. They're going to get whatever the version of the edit that's sent to them. The subtitling team has to have the subtitles ready to go when the episode launches, right? The episode's done and they get the subtitles. They might, if it's finished in advance, the subtitle team might get the final episode that they can work off of. But usually the editor is going to say, okay, here's version 3. It's ready almost. Here, make the subtitles. I might change it a tiny bit, but we're done. Subtitle team gets it. They're like, cool, we're going to transcribe these subtitles. The editor goes back and realizes, you know what? The director hated that take. And they change the take to a completely different thing. And it has a different lines in it. And the subtitle team never got that new version. So sometimes you get subtitles that don't even match at all because it was from like an earlier edit. It's just the stuff that goes on behind the scenes. But yeah, subtitles usually don't match the show. I feel like variety shows do though, because variety shows are they have the subtitle done. Like the show's all edited because they do variety shows. They shoot them and then they upload them like 1 week after, a few days after. They're like really fast in their turnaround. So if you get a variety show, you get the subtitles that are like actually made from the end of the episode, and they're usually more accurate. The reason is the subtitle team isn't just adding the dialogue really quick, but they'll add like, what do you call it? Like graphics, like animated graphics of subtitles to the show. So they do that after the show's completely edited so that they can match it and everything. Anyway, thank you everyone for coming. Thanks for coming, and I will see you again next time. 그럼 다음에 또 봐. Oh wait, I have to go this way now because I moved my room.